My name is Elizabeth. It was a Sunday morning, and I just finished a 12-hour night shift. Standing barefoot in my kitchen, pouring coffee into my only good mug, I heard a pounding on my door. It wasn't a gentle knock, it was like a demand. 3 heavy hits that rattled the deadbolt. Then came my mother's voice, raw and wrecked, nothing like the composed woman who hosted Christmas dinner a couple of weeks ago. Elizabeth, open this door. We need to talk. Another voice, Uncle Tom's. You can't hide in there forever. I set the coffee down and walked to the door. Peering through the peephole, I saw 4 people in the hallway. My mother was at the front, her eyes swollen and red. In her left hand, she clutched the white envelope from the property management office, crumpled as if she'd been gripping it for days. Her coat was buttoned wrong. Uncle Tom stood one step behind her, arms crossed, jaw tight, but his eyes kept darting towards the stairwell. Aunt Lucy was off to the side, looking confused, like she'd walked into the middle of a movie and couldn't figure out the plot. And my cousin Jake, standing farthest from the door, hands in his pockets, clearly wishing he were anywhere else. My mother pounded on the door again. I know you're in there. Please, please, she pleaded. I'd waited so long to hear that word from her, but it didn't sound like an apology. It sounded like a demand in disguise. I took a deep breath, looked at my coffee on the counter, and then opened the door. I stood in the doorway, right on the line between inside and outside. My mother started immediately. Elizabeth, I don't know what I did to deserve this. I gave you everything. I've been a single mother for so long, and now you want to throw me out like garbage. Uncle Tom chimed in. This is what happens when you spoil a child. I ignored Uncle Tom and looked at Aunt Lucy and Jake. Aunt Lucy, Jake, can I ask you something? Does anyone in this family know who pays the rent on Mom's house? There was silence. Aunt Lucy glanced at my mother, and my mother's jaw tightened. No one, because Mom told everyone she handles it herself. I held up the manila folder. Mom, I have 4 years of bank statements in this folder. Every transfer, every month, $1,200 from my account to yours. Do you want me to show them? My mother's face froze. The performance, the tears, the trembling lip, all of it stopped. Her skin went pale, and the blood left her cheeks. Aunt Lucy stepped forward. What? What is she talking about, Diane? My mother's voice came back, too loud and too fast. She sent a little money here and there. I said calmly, $57,600, Mom. That's not here and there. Just then, my phone buzzed in my back pocket. It was a FaceTime call from Grandma Rose. I looked at the screen and then at the 4 people in the hallway. Hold on, someone wants to speak. I accepted the call and turned the phone around. Grandma Rose's face filled the frame. She was sitting in her recliner, reading glasses low on her nose, eyes sharp and steady. The room behind her was quiet, and the TV was off. She looked through the screen at all of us and said slowly, I can hear all of you from here. So let me say this once. Diane, I love you, but I've seen the bank statements. Elizabeth has been paying your rent, your utilities, and your emergencies for 4 years. She paid for the food at Thanksgiving and the gifts you handed out at Christmas. Every single one. And you couldn't even give her a card. No one breathed. My mother whispered, Mama, you don't understand. Grandma Rose's voice didn't waver. I understand perfectly. You took that girl's money, told everyone it was yours, and then humiliated her in front of the whole family on Christmas. Elizabeth doesn't owe you an apology. You owe her one. The hallway was completely silent. Then my mother tried to rewrite the story. So, this is what you want? To destroy this family? I looked at her and said, No, Mom. I don't want to destroy anything. I just can't keep building something with my money that doesn't have room for me. I turned to Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom, you have until the 31st to figure out your living situation. That's 3 weeks. Uncle Tom's mouth opened and closed, but no joke came out. I looked at Aunt Lucy and Jake. If anyone in this family wants to talk to me after today, my door is open, but I won't be sending money, organizing holidays, or sitting on a folding chair anymore. I took a step back into my apartment, my hand on the door. I love you, Mom, but I love myself enough to stop paying for a seat at a table that was never set for me. And I closed the door, not with a slam, but with a quiet, steady click. As I stood with my back against the door, I started to think about how I'd gotten to this point. It all began when I was 16. My stepfather, my mother's second husband, left one day. He packed his bags and drove away, and our family fell apart. The rent was late, and the fridge was empty. My mother stopped getting out of bed early, and my little sister Lily, who was 12 at the time, started asking me what was for dinner. One evening, my mother came into the kitchen while I was heating up some canned soup and said, "You're the oldest. You understand." And just like that, a whole load of responsibility was dropped on my shoulders. I started cooking, cleaning, picking Lily up from school, and signing permission slips when my mother forgot. I even got a part-time job at a local diner, scraping plates late at night after school. Fast forward a few years. I became a registered nurse. I was working the night shift at a hospital, tired but proud. And then my mother started calling me with emergencies. She was behind on rent. Lily needed a new laptop for school. Uncle Tom's car broke down. At first, I thought it was my duty as a family member to help. But as the requests became expectations and my bank balance kept going down, I started to feel used. There was one Thanksgiving when my mother decided to host a big dinner. She called me 2 weeks in advance and asked for $800 for groceries and decorations. I sent it, hoping that maybe this time she'd recognize all I'd done. But after the meal, she stood up and said, "Being a single mother has been the hardest thing, but I did this all by myself and I'm proud." I sat at the end of the table, looking at the turkey, the centerpieces, all paid for by me, and felt like a stranger in my own family. 6 months before the Christmas that changed everything, I tried to talk to my mother about the money. I'd been up for 20 hours on a double shift, and I was exhausted. I sat on the edge of my bed, looked at my bank statements, and finally called her. "Mom, I need to talk to you about the money. I've been sending it every month for years, and I think I need to cut back a little." She cut me off, saying, "So, you're going to let your mother be homeless after everything I've sacrificed?" Then came the tears and the threat of telling the family I was a bad daughter. I gave in, as I always did. But then came Christmas Eve. I drove to my mother's house, bringing a homemade casserole as she'd asked. When I walked in, everyone was there, but no one said hello. I was given a folding chair at the end of the table. After dinner, it was gift-giving time. My mother gave gifts to everyone, but there was nothing for me. When I asked, she said, "Be grateful you can sit here." Uncle Tom laughed and said, "Be glad we still remember your name." That was the moment I decided enough was enough. I said, "Good to know." And over the next few days, I took action. I downloaded 4 years of bank statements, added up the total, $57,600. I also found the lease, which was in my name because my mother's credit was too low. I decided not to renew it and sent the bank statements to Lily. My mother called me, asking about the missing transfer. When I told her I wasn't sending money anymore, she threatened to tell the family what I was doing. But this time I was ready. I told her to go ahead and that I'd send them the bank statements. The family group chat exploded with messages from my relatives criticizing me. But I didn't reply. Then, when the certified letter about the non-renewal of the lease arrived at my mother's house, she panicked. She called me, crying and saying I was evicting her. I explained that it was my lease, and she had 26 days to find a new place. Lily finally reached out to me after reading the bank statements. She was shocked and apologized for not standing up for me. We started having real conversations, and it felt like a new beginning. As for my mother, she tried to manipulate the situation, but Grandma Rose stepped in and set the record straight. And now, here I am, standing behind this closed door, knowing that I've made a difficult but necessary decision. I don't hate my mother, but I can't keep being the invisible one in my family. I've set boundaries, and I'm ready to live a life where I'm valued.